Good morning. This is the Virtual PBX-admin training. This training will last about half an hour to 45 minutes. It's designed mostly to show you where things are. You're going to want to look in the show notes at the support page link and the other links there. I'll refer to them as necessary, but those, like the support page link especially, lets you find the step-by-step instructions for some of these features. There are some features I'll go in more depth than others just because they come up so often. But with that, let's go ahead and get started. We do record the trainings, so if you can't stay for the whole time, that's fine. You can come back later. I'll have to let you share the link with other staff members. Feel free to use the chat feature in YouTube to ask questions about a feature as I go over them. First up, we have our Dash login page, which is at dash.virtualpbx.com. To get logged in, we need three pieces of information. The first is your username, which is your email address in all lowercase letters, your password, which is case sensitive, and then your account name, which is not case sensitive. And then you click on sign in. If you're having trouble, just above the sign in bar is a forgot your info link. Click on that. Still need that email address. And then we need one of the two following pieces of information. Typically, it's easiest with the account name, but you could also use your company phone number. Click on the reset password bar here. That's going to send you an email. Follow the instructions in the email. Enter in that new password here. Enter in your company name. You can choose to click on Remember Me, and then click on Sign In. And this will take us right to our dashboard page. Now, up here at the top is your name, and you can click on that. It's going to open a big pop-up. This is your user account page. This is where you would change your password. On the left-hand side, since I'm a system admin, I can click on this account level settings. The main thing that we recommend is people check their time zone and do a search for the appropriate time zone for your region. For the US, for instance, East Coast time zone, just do a search for New York or Chicago in your Central, Denver if you're Mountain, Los Angeles for Pacific. Add-ons, these are additional features that you can activate on your account. There'll be a pop-up letting you know what the additional fee is for these features. This includes virtual text forward, multiple auto attendants, advanced reports, and dynamic caller ID. On the left-hand side, in the billing section, we have first up is the billing portal. And then this link here opens up the actual billing portal itself. That's where you would go to see previous invoices and update your payment method. Then any system admin can click on cancel account here. And then click on this red button here at the right and then fill out the resulting forms. This will close out your account at the end of the current billing cycle, at which time you'll get your final invoice. And then over here to the top right, click close when you're all done. And you're back here on the dashboard page. Now, to the right of your name, you have a DND toggle, which stands for Do Not Disturb. Mine is currently active because it's white. That means calls are going to voicemail, right? Calls to my user are going to voicemail, not for the whole account. Next up, we have a little phone icon here. This opens a new tab, takes you to webphone.virtualpbx.net. If you have a web phone device on your user, you can log into that page using your Dash credentials, and you can use your browser to make and receive calls. So this would be with Chrome, Firefox, or Safari on the desktop versions of those browsers. Little chat bubble icon here. This opens a new tab, takes you to virtualtext.app, and that is where you would go to make use of our virtual text feature. Little question mark icon. This opens up a chat bubble so you can speak to our support staff via chat to help out with the feature. Hamburger icon or menu icon. takes you to other dash features, which we'll touch on at the end of the video, and then the log out button, which logs you out of this web page. Down here in the center, I have total users. I have 5, which means I have 5 people who make and receive calls. Keep in mind, the more users you add, the higher your bill is going to be. Total devices, I have 14. The main ones to be aware of are these 3 here, the soft phone, web phone, and SIP phone. These are all different types of VoIP phones, depending on your plan. Having too many devices can increase the cost of your bill. I have total phone numbers down here of 12 and a breakdown, assigned numbers and spare numbers, assigned numbers, numbers in use, right? Someone can dial an assigned number and expect to speak to someone, leave a voicemail, send a fax, or join a conference. Spare number, count towards your allotment of numbers. You're just not currently using it. And then here I have USD ID and US toll free. US toll free, just 800 number, 888 all the way down to 833. USD ID is a US local number. Your account includes at least one local number. Beyond that, it depends on the plan, but you may have additional local numbers per user. I'm paying an overage on my numbers here. If you just signed up with us, check the pricing page so that you can see what the overage is on extra phone numbers. Otherwise, you want to contact our account services team. Over here to the top right is our main number block. And these 3 numbers behave in the same way. Right? They're going to the same part of my system. They're playing the same main greeting. Conference room numbers, you can have multiple conference room numbers if you want. They all go to the same conference rooms. Fax box number, this is your inbound fax number. You can only have the one main fax box number. And once you do have one here, you can edit the fax box for outbound faxing. The company directory, there's 2 links here. The first is CSV. This is just download the file, use your favorite spreadsheet program. It's going to list all your users with their names, their email addresses, their extension numbers, and their devices. The soft phone link here is for use with the VirtualPBX desktop soft phone application. So if you're using our soft phone app on a Mac or Windows PC, you can download this file and upload it to the soft phone app. In your contact list, you'll see your other users listed there, and you'll be able to tell the status of their VirtualPBX soft phones, whether if they're on a call or not. VirtualPBX Store, this opens up a new tab, takes you to store.virtualpbx.com, where you can order things like a VoIP phone or headsets, etc. The account realm, every account has its own account realm. The main things it's used for is first, it's one of the 3 pieces of information you need to program or provision a third-party soft phone. It's also used in outbound faxing, which is via email, which we will get to later. Okay, we're going to skip back up here to the top. This blue bar, we have the caller ID button here. This pull down lets you select one of your main numbers. This phone number becomes your default number on the account. For example, your VoIP phones by default will use this number for their outbound caller ID, which is something they need to actually complete an outbound call. So you would select one and then click on Save Changes. Hold music. You can upload your own media file, .wav, .mp3, up to 1 megabyte in size. Click on the Browse button here, and then click on the up arrow icon, and then Save Changes. This is after a call has come into your system, and your staff members have picked up the call, and then they press hold on their VoIP phone. That's when this media file will play. Now, hours is part of main number. We don't want to get into that until after we've set up users, at least. So with that in mind, over here on the left, we're going to click on users. Here, you see my user page. People with the blue suit icon, these are my system admins. They can make all the changes we're talking about today. Dante, as a gray person icon, is a standard user. He has very limited access. If I want to add more users, click up here at the top where it says Add User. It's going to bring me a pop-up box here. You need to fill out this form. Right, so first name, last name, pretty straightforward. Email address used for login needs to be unique for each user. Right, cannot reuse email addresses. This is how the system communicates with your staff. Voicemail notifications, password resets, that sort of thing. Create a password for the user, or let your browser do it. Main extension number, type in the extension you want to use for the user. We recommend using 3 or 4-digit extensions, as that allows for growth. It doesn't use up your menu options. By default, the system will automatically create a voicemail box for the user. Here's your option to include the user in the user directory. You can always change this later. Here's an option to send emails to an alternate address. This is if you want those voicemail notifications or what have you be sent to a different address than the one used for login. You would just click on the box and then enter that different email address in the box provided. This is also something you can change at a later date. And then here, this is something we recommend on this 4th option here to check, and that is send credentials to the user. What that just means is when you click on these either the buttons at the bottom here, the system will automatically send an email to the new user, welcoming them to the Dash account and include their login information. Now, once a user is created, you can click on their name. If you need to change the name, just edit that information in the box is provided. Change credentials, that's where you would go to change their email address or password. You could also send them the password reset email directly from here. In the change PIN, that's where you would change their voicemail box PIN number. So here's the option to send credentials to an alternate address. And then here's the option to be in the user directory. Over here on the right, this pull down lets you change a user into an admin or admin to a user. This pull down is a time zone for the user. This is so their voicemail timestamps are correct. Flag icon, this lets you change the display language for the web pages for this user. Ringing timeout, it defaults 20 seconds, which is typically plenty of time for a user with a VoIP phone or landline. If you have a user that's only using a cell phone, you might want to bump that up to 30 seconds. And then click Save Changes if you make any changes. Extension box, you can choose to have users have multiple extensions if you want them to. Just click there and then enter the new extension number and then Save Changes. The phone number box, users can have their own phone numbers if you want them to. These phone numbers are available 24/7. They don't have hours of operation or anything like that. For more information on how to add phone numbers directly to a user, use that support page link in the show notes, and you can do a search for DID phone numbers or just adding phone numbers. And users can have multiple phone numbers if you want them to. Device box, you can add devices directly to the user, which is what we do recommend. I'm only going to cover adding the soft phone. So down here, click on New Device and select Soft Phone. Now, whenever you add a soft phone or web phone, you get this warning message. Please read it at least once. And we get this big box. Now, the system will default to add a third-party soft phone, meaning you're using somebody else's soft phone application, which is fine. That's purely up to you. Just give it a name, and then you need to copy and paste the SIP username. Click on the SIP password box, and then copy and paste that. Please do not delete it or change it. And then you need to copy and paste the SIP realm. Those are the 3 pieces of information you need to program or provision a third-party soft phone. Now, if you want to use a VirtualPBX soft phone, you don't need to go through all that. Instead, down here below where it says View Configuration Guide, you see it says Use Third-Party Application. If you click on that, because it's a toggle, it now says Use VirtualPBX Application. So now, all you need to do is give it a name, right, under Device Name, and then click on Create Device, and then Save Changes. Once you click on Save Changes, the user gets sent an email that says, your VirtualPBX soft phone is ready. And the body of the email is their username and password so that they can log into the app. And then there's download links so they can download the app to their preferred device. In terms of adding other devices, you've got the support page link where you can look up specific types of devices like cell phones or other types of devices. There's also the auto provisioning phones document there that should be linked. That is for VoIP phones, Link, Cisco, Polycom, etc., which is its own process. All right, user features. I'm only going to cover a couple of these in depth. The first of which is voicemail box. Right, this is something you enabled with the user when it was first created. This is the default settings for voicemail box. Main thing to know, voicemail boxes can only hold up to 100 messages. After that, they are full and cannot accept any more. In that show notes, use that support page and look up voicemail. It will tell you how to access your voicemail box either through the website or over the phone. By default, we're sending you an email and it's going to have an MP3 attachment so you can listen to the voicemail at the very least. Now, if you have a user who is bad about managing their voicemail box, you can also click on this option, which is after we send out that email, we delete the voicemail box from the system so their voicemail box doesn't become full. Just be aware that if they have a problem with their email, they may lose voicemails. Next up is Follow Me. This is for users with multiple devices. Now, if this user did not have Follow Me enabled, calls to this user would ring on all 3 phones at the same time. I click on Follow Me. You see that I have it enabled. And instead of having all 3 of the devices ring, I'm having it ring to my web phone and my soft phone. And it's always going to start with my web phone. Here, let's put this back to disabled so you guys can see what it looks like when you first bring it up. So when you first enable it, everything is on Do Not Ring, right, under here on the right-hand side. So you have to uncheck the devices you want to make use of. You have this little green bar. You click and drag to set up a ring time for them. Up here at the top, these are timestamps. This last one you can edit. It defaults to 120 seconds, 2 minutes. You can change that. And then you can click distribute, right? So to equalize out between the 2 devices, I can change the order by clicking and dragging, and then click distribute again. And then save changes. Caller ID number. This is for users that have their own phone number and you want their outbound caller ID from their VoIP phones to display their own number, right? Instead of your company main number. Fax box. This allows you to enable a fax box directly for this user. Conference bridge. This allows you to enable the user to moderate or host conferences. Call forwarding. This allows you to have the user forward calls to an outside phone number. Generally speaking, if your users have a cell phone device as one of their primary devices, they don't need call forwarding. They're already forwarding out to an outside number. For VoIP phone users, especially if they're VoIP phone only users, what you could do is do what's called failover mode. So if their VoIP phone goes offline, the system would automatically forward to a number you designated. Customized call recording. This allows you to record inbound and outbound calls. Music on hold. This allows you to set up custom hold music for the specific user. Do not disturb. Lets you as the admin put a user on do not disturb or take them off. Hot desking. This is for hybrid scheduling, shared office environment for basically people who don't have a set desk that they sit at, and allows them to log into the VoIP phone that they're sitting at so calls get routed to the phone that they're sitting at. Again, for all of these, use that support page link and do a search for the feature in question for the step-by-step instructions. Next up, we're going to hit groups. These are departments, right? Also referred to as ring groups or hunt groups. Up here at the top, click on Add Group. Give it a name, give it an extension number, and then you click and drag your staff members that you want to be part of the group, and then click on Create Group at the bottom. Once a group is created, you can click on the name. You can always change the name at any time. Group call attempts is how many times the system will offer a call to the members of the group. There's little arrows here at the far right, so you can increase or decrease that as you need to. Here's the option to delete a group, and if you make changes, click on Save Changes. Members box shows the members you've assigned to the group and how you're offering calls to them. This is an example of blast ringing or ring all. Whoever answers the call first gets it. Now, I can also click distribute. So now it always goes in this order. Even if David is on a call, he would still be first offered a call to the group. It's not going to skip him ever. Also, David was the user we're looking at for follow me. Calls from the group ignore the follow me settings, right? So his cell phone would ring. Whereas before, with which his calls to his user would ignore his cell phone. Down here, you can add users. So if your group gets busier, again, you can adjust these lines or the ring times so later callers are not on hold as long. And then any changes, click on Save Changes. Extensions, groups can have multiple extension numbers if you want. Just click on Add Extension and enter that new extension number and then Save Changes. Groups can also have their own phone numbers. Right? Add from spare means you're reusing a number. By numbers means you're adding a new number to the account. Just like on users, phone numbers on groups do not have hours of operation. Again, use the support page link on adding phone numbers. Group features. Ringback is essentially hold music for the group. Click up here to enable, upload MP3 or .wav file up to 1 megabyte in size. Click browse, up arrow icon, save changes. Main thing to know, the system will not loop the file for you. So you want to make sure that your play duration of that file matches or exceeds the total ring time you have set up for the group. Next action, you're adding an action for the system to initiate if none of your members of the group are able to answer the call. This is after the final group call attempt. So up here, you click to enable. This pull down are things on your system. So you can send it to a different group, another user, or a specific phone, or a media file. But most commonly chosen is a voicemail box. Allow call forwarding. If you turn this on, your users can make use of call forwarding. Caller ID prepend, this is the VoIP phone feature. This allows you to enter text or numbers that show up in front of the caller ID information that shows up on your staff members' VoIP phones. So customer Mary is calling into the group, goes out to Bob's VoIP phone. On Bob's VoIP phone, he'll see the word support and then customer Mary's phone number. And that lets him know about the kind of call he's getting. I usually recommend only one or the other. Don't do both because that can be very confusing for your staff. All right, so we have users and groups with devices. So we can go over here to main number now. Main company numbers, right? These are your general numbers. Down here is where you would add more. So if you have multiple numbers you want to use. If you don't want to use an existing number, you would just click unassign next to it. That does not delete the number from the account. It just moves it to a spare number. And that is true for any place that you unassign a number. Little gear icon here is where you can update the E911, caller ID, etc. Each phone number can have its own E911 address, and we'll get into why that's important later. Office hours strategy, you have 24-hour open office or custom office hours. If you choose custom office hours, for each day of the week that you're open, click on the checkbox in front of that day, and then set your open hours in 24-hour or military time in the boxes provided. You do have the option to set your closed for lunch at the same time every day. Just click on the box here, and then set your lunch hours again in 24-hour or military time. And then click on Save Changes. Office holidays, if you're closed for holidays, put a check mark here. And then over here to the right where it says Add Holiday, click here. You have single day, date range, or advanced. Each one of these creates a new row, and you just fill out the information. Oops. Right, so single day like I have here for Christmas Day, then I choose the month, I choose the date, and then save changes. My date range, I gave it a name, start date, end date, and then save changes again. Advanced, a little bit more difficult or a little more complicated, right? You give it a name, you choose the month, you have first through fifth as well as last, and then the day of the week. And then save changes. If you need to remove a holiday, click on the little trash icon here at the far right, and then save changes. Incoming call handling. This is how my system is handling calls from my main numbers during my open hours, during my after hours, and during my holidays. So during my open hours, I'm having calls come into my virtual receptionist. This is a link. We'll open up a big box. The main menu, this is what people press on their phones to navigate through my phone system. Down here where it says add route is how I add those menu options. Click on the pull down and I select 0 through 9, the star key or the default action. And then I choose something that I've created on my system, whether that's a user, a group, a specific device, which is a phone or a voicemail box, etc. Greetings, you have different types of greeting options. Text to speech, you just type in the greeting, system reads it back off in a robotic voice. You can upload your own file, .wav, .mp3, up to 1 megabyte. Choose from something that's already on the system, meaning you've already added things and you're going back to a greeting, like after the holidays, you go back to your normal main greeting. You can record it over the phone. By default, the system wants you to use a VoIP phone that's registered on the account. That's a security feature. And then you would just call into your main number and enter the PIN number. Now, you don't have to use a VoIP phone. If you don't have one available to you, or you have that friend who's got that good radio voice, then under settings, you want to come down to where it says allow outside recording, turn that on. This means anyone can call in from any phone number and record your main greeting over the phone. They still need that PIN number. This PIN number is specific to this time of day, right? So this is my open hours. So this PIN number only works during my open hours, Monday to Friday, 9 to 5. So if I called on Saturday, this PIN number doesn't work. Bear in mind, when you call in and record over the phone, you're overriding the existing greeting that's in place. So it has the same file name, but different content. Professional recording services, when you click order, this will open up a new tab, take you to Snap Recordings. You would order from them. They'd email you the completed file, and you'd come back up here to upload your own file. Right, settings, number of retries on this dial is how many times your inbound caller can make a mistake. This one is set to 1, which means they can make 1 mistake, which means they get 2 total attempts. Right? They get 1 initial one, they make a invalid entry, then the system plays the greeting again and they have another attempt. Dialing timeout, this is how much time the system listens for additional button presses for when the inbound caller is trying to enter an extension number. We already covered allow outside recording. Allow dialing extensions, by default this is on. This just means if the inbound caller enters a valid extension number, the system will transfer the call. If you turn this off, your inbound caller can only press your menu options. Everything else is invalid entry. Suppress the playing of invalid entry. So when the caller calls in and they make too many mistakes, the system will say, we did not recognize your entry. Then it will do one of 2 things. If there is a default action, it will then transfer that caller to the default action. If there's a no default action, the system will say, we did not recognize your entry, goodbye, and end the call. And the reason you'd want to suppress it is because you're actually transferring the call and you want it to be less intrusive for the customer. Any changes you make to your main menu, to your greetings, click on Save here at the bottom right, and then click on Save Changes. The second option here is the Live Operator Answer option. This first pull down, select something on your system, typically a user or a group, potentially even a device. And then if they can't pick up, then it goes to virtual receptionist. This is my after hours receptionist, so I have a different greeting but in different menu options. But beyond that, this is the same as we were just looking at. My holidays, I chose this third option. This first pull down, anything on your system, media file, user, group, device, etc. If they don't answer, and in this case, I chose the bottom one here, skip to voicemail, then you're sending it to a voicemail box on the system. And again, any changes, click on Save Changes. Main conference number, you can have multiple conference room numbers if you want. Once you do have a conference room number, you can also click on the custom greeting link here. And you can click Enable and type in a text-to-speech greeting. And then click on Save Changes. Even if you leave this disabled, the system says welcome to the conference and prompts you to enter the conference room number and PIN number. Main fax box number, you can have the one main fax box number, and once you do, you can then edit the fax box. The inbound notification email in the box to the right, enter an email address, and that email address will always be sent a message when someone tries to fax in. When it's a successful fax, they'll have a completed PDF file to look at. If someone dials your fax box number by mistake and then hangs up, they'll still get an email saying there was a failed fax attempt. Email permissions, in the box to the right, you can enter in a specific email address, or you can put in your company's email domain like is shown in here. And what that means is anyone at VirtualPBX, in this case, they can send out a fax on this system. All they have to do to send out a fax is create an email from the VirtualPBX email address. In the to field, this is the format they would want to use. +1 area code and phone number that they're faxing to, followed by the at symbol, and then the account realm for this account. Then they just need to attach a PDF or TIFF file. And the system doesn't look at the subject line, it doesn't look at the body of the email. It's looking at the to field, the from field, and the attachment. One attachment per email, so make sure any signature files are removed. Also, only one recipient address. Right? Don't try to send to multiple email addresses at once. Auto attendance is a client-specific or add-on feature. It's essentially just adding more virtual receptionists. You can use the show notes to look that up. Devices, this is your device tab, shows your devices on the account. Red means they're not registered. Green means we can send calls to them. One thing I want to point out here is under the edit icon with the wrench. There we go. Under advanced, emergency caller ID. This allows you to select a phone number that you've added at an E911 address to, and then assign it to the VoIP phone in question, specifically for the purposes of 911. Right? So if this person picks up their VoIP phone, dials 911, this is the address information that gets transmitted to emergency services. So each phone number in your account can have a different address, and thus you can assign different addresses for your users if people are working remote. Greetings, this shows your media files on the account. Right, you've got the name, whatever you've named it. The source, TTS, means text-to-speech, which means it was created under your virtual receptionist or auto attendant. Upload means you uploaded the file. Recording means it was recorded over the phone. The play column, this lets you play back the greeting directly in your browser. If for some reason that doesn't work, you can click on the download link here. You'd also want to do this on your main greeting so you have a copy of it and save a backup copy, especially during the holidays in case you get in a hurry and have to record over the phone over your normal main greeting. You have a little wrench icon here under edit. This lets you go down to any file and click on the wrench icon, and you can change the file name. Right? This main open hours menu TTS, this is the default name the system uses for that text-to-speech reading under my main open hours menu. and it reuses it multiple times. So I can have like 20 of these if I'm not careful. Or I can just simply delete it because I know I don't need it any longer. Over here on left, numbers takes you to your numbers in use. This shows you where you've assigned the numbers. Little here icon, you can update the E911 information, for instance. Spare numbers, these are the numbers you're not currently using. Once a number is spare, you can then decide if you want to remove it from the account. To do so, click on the little box in front. You'll have the option to delete show up here at the top now. And then you can click on the delete numbers to confirm the deletion, and it will remove it from the account. By numbers, you have choice of local or toll-free. This just adds additional spare numbers. Port number starts the port process. This means you're moving a phone number from one carrier to us. In the show notes, please use the support page link for how to port the phone number. The main thing to know is we need a completed and signed letter of agency. The signature can be a digital signature file, or you can print it out and sign it. Just don't type your name twice. That always gets rejected and delays your port request. Voicemail boxes shows your voicemail boxes on the account. Anything with an entry under the user column was created when the user was created. But you can add additional voicemail boxes up here at the top. Give it a name, a voicemail box number, and PIN number. Click on Create Voicemail Box. And then I'm going to click down here to the support box because this is one I created here. Main thing to know, the voicemail box number is not the same as an extension number, i.e. someone tries to enter 3333 from my virtual receptionist, they're not getting here. The voicemail box number and PIN number are what you use to access the voicemail box over the phone. Right, to check voicemails, change the greeting, etc. Under advanced greeting media, you can directly upload a media file, right, the voicemail greeting file, to the voicemail box instead of recording over the phone. You have two options. You have temporary and media. Media is the normal file that you want playing, right? Temporary is that out of office or vacation message. If you have something selected in both, only the temporary file plays. The media file will not play again until you set the temporary back to none. Recipients, your user voicemail boxes have a built-in recipient. Any voicemail box you create on this page, you'd want to come here, click on Add New Recipient, and keep clicking Add until you're done. You could also do this to your user voicemail boxes if you want more recipients. Options, after you have a media file and recipients, go ahead and click on Already Set Up. This also locks the greeting for the voicemail box in place. You can double check to make sure you have the attached emails to voicemail enabled. Now, on a voicemail box that you don't want to get full, like my support box here, I would click on Delete After Notification. And that's why I have multiple email addresses there, so in case one bounces, I still have a backup. And then click on Save Changes. Virtual Text Forward, plan-specific feature add-on. Look at the show notes in the support page link. Virtual Extensions is a plan-specific feature. Again, you'd want to use the show notes for that, the support page link. Call logs shows your call history on the account. You have this today, this week, this month. Custom actually lets you go back up to 12 months. If you need to go further than that, you're going to want to contact our support team, and they'll have to create an escalation, but our engineers can only go back up to 18 months. Our green arrow to the right is a call coming into the system, and if you click on it, you'll see if there's additional legs, i.e. what devices reached out to. Yellow arrow to the left is a call leaving the system, outbound call. Little fire extinguisher icon here. This will create an email pre-addressed to support@virtualpbx.com and will include the technical details. Please include the context so our support team can properly help you. You can also download these if you're good with CSV files. Feature codes. These are ways for your VoIP phone users to directly access Dash features from their VoIP phone. Obviously, it's here in the support page. You can do a search for feature codes or phone commands cheat sheet to get the context. That's just the dashboard. Call center, an add-on available on some plans. This is call queues. They're an advanced version of groups. So unlike great groups, won't ignore a user, right? Always offers a call to them. Queues will know when you're on a call and skip the user and go to the next available user. In the show notes, you can look at the ACD QUEUES Pro demo link to see what that is about. Dynamic caller ID. This is an add-on feature. You don't want to use the show notes, but basically this allows you to create rules, change the outbound caller ID for your VoIP phones to one of the other phone numbers on your account. Faxes. This is your fax manager. This allows you to check on your fax boxes and their fax status. Reports. This is advanced reporting. In the show notes, look at the advanced reporting demo, but this allows you to create your own reports. Voicemails. This lets you get to any voicemail box on the account. So if something's full, you can manage it and delete it. Integration AWS, a plan-specific feature. This allows you to link your Dash account to Amazon Web Services account, right? Your own AWS account. So that way you can store your call recordings there versus with us. Blacklist. This allows you to create a list of phone numbers that you're blocking from reaching your phones. Bear in mind, any phone number you put on this list would still show up in your call log. Just show up as rejected. Please use the support page link for directions on how to set that up. Call recording. This will either take you to your AWS interface, or it will open up a new tab and take you to recordings.virtualpbx.com. Use your Dash login to view your recordings. Number manager just takes you back to your spare numbers page. User portal. Every user has access to their own user portal. It starts you off on your voicemail tab. So this is where you would go to manage your voicemails. You can see your call history, your fax history if you have a fax box. Contact list shows everything on the account for help with transferring calls. The conference tab is for use with the users with the conference bridge or conference table, conference feature enabled. And this is where they would update their PIN numbers. The settings and devices tab, right here is where users can enable call forwarding on their own. They just click on the box, put +1 area code and phone number for their forwarding to, and save. So now I'm call forwarding. Right, when I don't need to call forward, I just uncheck it and then click save again. Webhooks, plain specific feature. This allows you to link your Dash account to other software, and you would basically, it's some level of programming. In the show notes, you can look at the introduction to Zapier webinar. You could also go to developer.virtualpbx.com to see sample code of what we have done. SMS registration. This is what you have to go through in order to make use of the virtual text feature. This first page is informational, and then down here is a link for a step-by-step guide. Then you would click on start registration, make sure you have all this information handy, and then click on register to fill out the form. And then your registration status would show you the status of your registration. You can also go to learn.virtualpbx.com or even on our YouTube channel here, and you should see a group of videos about the SMS registration process. And with that, we are done. I thank you for your time today and have a wonderful day.